again. Welcome to my low res, low production value, high quality information live stream. Coming to you live from an unnamed location somewhere where there may or may not be craziness happening in the relatively nearby proximity. Um, so today I want to tell you about some things to do with handling marketing in times of great real world volatility. And by great, I don't mean terrific or good. I mean large or significant. There's a vast amount of volatility happening in the world today, as we know, in places like Ukraine and Israel and Gaza and other places where there are insane conflicts happening. And, if you work in marketing, these can seem like immensely challenging times when you have, war all around you, etc. And yes, to some degree, it is immensely challenging, especially if you've been directly or even, indirectly by 1 or 2 degrees affected by any particular, conflicts that can have a massive impact on people's, obviously physical well-being, but also mental well-being and emotional well-being, and that can really take its toll, draining people of their energy, their ability to do things. It can slow down the ability to do work, or it can shift your needs and priorities from one hand to the next, and it can happen rather immediately. And on that note, I want to emphasize that if you are in a place like that, obviously the number one thing to always do is to make sure you stay as safe as possible. And that the number 2 thing to do, apart from staying safe as possible and taking all reasonable measures to stay that way, is to, do the remaining in the area where there's conflict, or there's usually a lot of reasons to do that. Sometimes people can't afford to do that, but those who can will often take advantage of the opportunity to keep themselves and especially their children safe. And apart from that, when it comes to the actual work, it's important to keep in mind that there are a lot of things to do in times of great stress and volatility. One of those things is to see about how you, contribute to whatever cause you think is necessary, support whatever cause you think is right, to support whatever groups you think are doing good things that match your interests. And then, of course, when it comes to the actual bottom line work, you should try to not get sidetracked and remain focused as much as possible on your greater purpose at work, whether that's, in marketing terms, keeping your campaigns going, or launching campaigns, or launching multiple campaigns, making sure your development is on course, making sure your graphics work is on course, making sure your sales efforts are on course, making sure your product demonstrations are on course, making sure your product development is on course, making sure your everything, business development efforts are on course. All the pieces of the puzzle, whatever your startup is, or your mid-sized company, or your large company, right? There's no reason for any department to kind of go into shutdown mode, right? Unless literally something catastrophic happened, and you're not able to function. and your company's not able to function, right? As long as the company is functioning, you should maintain as much as possible an even keel, or as the old British saying used to go, keep calm and carry on, right? And that's a very important lesson to actually bear in mind, because panic won't help you. Worrying about things you can't change won't help you. You know, worrying about things you didn't do won't help you. And worrying about things you're not going to do is not going to help you. And worrying about what you can do is also not going to help you. Right? You have to just do what you can do, and without worry, because worrying won't help. Panicking won't help. It doesn't in any way help. I mean, yeah, somebody will point out, well, once I panicked and it helped me overcome this thing. Okay, maybe there's a 1 in a billion or 1 in a million chance that some random thing will happen where, because you were in panic mode, some random action happened that happened to be the right action at that point in time, and you did it not even instinctively, but just out of panic. It could be that could be the case 1 in a million times, or some other statistically insignificant time. You know, the other 999,999 times or more, that won't be the case. What will be the case is that remaining calm, cool, level-headed, keeping your wits about you is what's going to get you through the difficult times. Somebody asked me earlier today on LinkedIn if I am somebody who deals with stress well, to which the only answer is yes. I deal with stress well. He asked me, how do I do it? And I said, well, I don't have any option to not deal with it well. So therefore, I don't operate with a plan B to not act well with stress. Right? It's just not a function that I can have. I have to deal with stress a lot. It's part of the nature of marketing in general. When things are comfortable and easy, you're going to, at the very least, going to stress yourself when things are too comfortable, because you're going to push yourself to push your boundaries and find new targets and new goals that are beyond the scope of what you originally thought once you've crushed your goals and you have more goals to crush. So you should always be at least slightly uncomfortable, and that's a good thing. Right? There's even a whole philosophy based on that concept that's used at many high-tech companies, where the idea is to always be operating in a mode that is at least slightly out of your comfort zone. The very same kind of idea can be applied to marketing, especially during great stress, turmoil, conflict, whatever. You know, if you are able to keep all the insanity of the real world at bay and generally operate normally, even while the nation around you or the region around you is in incredible conflict, it's not, you know, you shouldn't let the stress freak you out. You should exploit it. You should use it as an opportunity to grow, right? Because ultimately, great stress usually leads to great opportunity. By that I mean, you know, take a look at any market, right? You'll notice that when times are easy, people tend to slack off because it's easy and they don't have to worry so much. So, okay, they just ride the wave, yay, and they get whatever gravy they can without much effort. But when times get a little bit tough, you know, the tough get going, as they say, right? And what that means is you build during a bear market, so that when you have the next big bull market cycle, you're in a much better position to make much more significant gains. And that goes for all kinds of walks of life, whether you're a marketer, a trader, a product developer, business owner, investor, doesn't matter. if you're, buying and selling things or building things to sell, then it's the times when there's a lot of doubt and uncertainty and fear that are actually the times to make the most of the opportunity, because that's when usually, when things are hitting the fan, is when you'll be able to exploit the opportunity, right? The occurrence of opportunity will be there for you to exploit. The market inefficiencies will be there for you to exploit. And again, that goes for all walks of business, any kind of business that you're in, right? If you're any kind of decision maker, this applies to you. Okay, if you're just a factory line worker or just a member of some team and you have no particular attachment or long-term interest in the success of your team, for some reason you're like, emotionally detached from your team's success, and you're just in and out for a quick thing, whatever. You don't expect to be counted very high on the totem pole if you're not, and if you're not committed very much, very deeply, don't expect to be treated as somebody who is greatly committed. But if you are greatly committed to whatever it is that you do, whatever your line of work happens to be, but obviously I talk here about marketing most, then you want to make sure you're building things, automation processes, artificial intelligence processes, right? Customer service request processes, inbound marketing processes, outbound marketing processes, right? Anything to do with marketing or sales, lead generation, all those optimizations, you can make a great effort during the times when it seems hardest. And if you are, limited by things like funding, tight budgets, whatever, this is the time to prove your worth by finding alternative solutions to normally expensive premium products and services that you might buy. This is also the time, if you have, any funding, to actually make the most of those dollars by, if you're going to spend anything, stretch those dollars as much as you can wisely, not by skimping on things, not by being cheap, but by being smart, right? Shrewd with your actual expenses, so that whatever you spend money on, you get the most bang for your buck, and it makes an impact as much as possible, right? So if you're going to buy PR services, advertising services, development services, whatever it might be, right? Creative services, copywriting services, customer service tools, whatever, right? AI tools, anything. You want to make sure that if you're spending any money, it's spent wisely, especially during this time, so that again you can make the most profit or the most return on investment, whether that's in the immediate term, like if you are doing things to raise funds quickly, or in the short term, if you have a little bit of runway, or in the near term or mid-term, if you have a little bit more runway, or in the long term, if you have long-term plans. So this is the time. When I say this is the time, I mean if you have, whenever you're watching this, now or in the future, whenever you are watching this and you happen to be a person doing this kind of work in an area where there's conflict, use this opportunity, to do the work that needs to get done, to push forward like gangbusters. Get the word out about your efforts, share it. They say share it on social media. Okay. A lot of people share things on social media, they don't get anywhere. If you don't have a following, it won't really necessarily help you, right? But if you share it little by little, even if you have very little following, the more you share, the more you feed the algorithms. Now, should you spend all day posting 100 messages on Twitter? Well, according to the Twitter algorithm, that's the minimum you need to share to get any headway on Twitter or X or whatever. But who has time to post 100 messages a day on Twitter? So unless you have somebody farming messages out literally all day, you may not have the ability to focus on that particular platform, and that's okay. It's also not the best converting platform in most cases. It sure is great for some, but it's not necessarily the best. Whereas if you have other platforms where you have a presence, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, or if you're on Reddit or YouTube or whatever platforms that you actually do use, right? Those are the places where you can make it. You can make an impact. It's hard to convert with links on Reddit necessarily. It's good for all kinds of things, certain organic links or whatever, but generally speaking, Reddit is not the best place to do marketing. You need to find the sites that are good for marketing, social media platforms that are good for marketing for your particular niche, and use those, right? If you happen to be somebody who does have good reach on Twitter, great, congratulations, and that's good. You can make the most of it. Just for the average user, it tends not to have the best conversion rates. Right? Maybe you use Instagram more, or maybe you post reels, or you post posts, whatever it is. Maximize your use of the available social media platforms, because they'll pay off in dividends or virtual dividends as effectively as you grow your audience, and as more and more people spread the word around you. That's very powerful word of mouth marketing that can help you get a lot of reach that you otherwise couldn't get. Now the thing is, you can't necessarily have an exact prediction model with those, especially if your stuff takes a while to take off. You don't have to get any traction with anybody. So one of the ways to do that is to find people who are even nano influencers or micro influencers, or if you have the ability, influencers who actually have 100,000 or more people following them. Right? If you know anybody like that, great. See if you can work out a deal where they'll name drop you, post a link to your effort, whatever it is. And of course, in marketing, we're usually doing more than one thing at once, right? Especially if you're running the marketing for an organization. You're usually going to be marketing more than one particular effort at one time. That just is the nature of the game. It's very rare that you're only going to be just doing this one thing and 100% focus on that and nothing else. You might find that some companies operate better when they do singular-minded focus. You might also find that some companies are actually better when they're scattershot. It might not seem obvious, maybe counterintuitive, like how can you do better if you're scattershot versus if you're singularly focused? Well, some people have the talent of being singularly focused and they're really good at it, and maybe even that's most people. But a lot of people also have the ability and the preference to be scattershot, or multitasking, or whatever you want to call it, where they're doing more than one thing on any given day, more than one focus on any given day. And that's especially true if you're managing any kind of team, even a small team, right? You're going to be, with multiple humans, you're going to be doing usually more than one thing, because not all opportunities line up exactly to your schedule. So you're going to take advantage of opportunities as they appear. And sometimes you're going to find that some of that is a bit of a wasted effort, and you could have been more productive by not doing some of those things. And it's the 80-20 rule, right? You want to get 80% of the effort from 80% of the results from 20% of the effort, as opposed to the other way around. So you want to minimize the amount of wasted effort. However, when you're doing marketing, the only way to find out which efforts are going to be wasted or not is to actually do them. And very often the process will tell you, the steps along the way will give you the indication about which of those efforts is wasted or going to be wasted, and which of those efforts is actually worthwhile. And that's why you want to do a lot of ABC testing, and you want to operate a lean marketing and a fragile marketing, right? Designed to fail strategy. And what do you mean designed to fail? Well, if you've been watching my channel, you would know. And if you don't know, go watch my videos on my channel about, be first to fail, fail as fast as you can, fail as often as you can, because that will get you to where you can only succeed. If you get all the failures out of the way first and fast, the only options left are success options, right? It's like that old story about the light bulb, right? Edison didn't find, 3,000 ways to fail really at building a light bulb. He failed. He found 3,000 ways that making a light bulb doesn't work, and remain only with the options that do. So first to fail fast, and be lean. That's what's going to help you fail fast. Being lean means you do as many experiments, as many operations, as many projects as you can as fast as possible, with quick reviews, quick analysis, quick ABC testing and optimization and reviews. All right, that's it for now. Talk to you later. Happy marketing.